SBN, Sports Business Now. SBN is a division of Row 27, the digital sports marketing company, celebrating 5 years of creating TV spots, intro videos, and microsites for over 150 teams. See our work at row27.com. And by FanMaker, digital marketing tools for sports teams, featuring FanMaker Rewards, the most comprehensive and popular fan loyalty and reward system. Learn more about our apps at fanmaker.com. Sports Marketing Now.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Sports Marketing Now, and I'm your host Holly Koski, and Sports Marketing Now talks about all of the latest news in the marketing world on the marketing side of sports. And today it's an all-female show. We have Angela Taylor, who is president and CEO of NetworksSports, and Lisa Boaz of the St. Louis Rams. Thanks, ladies, for joining me today.
Thanks for having us, Holly.
No problem. Angela, I'll start with you. You want to introduce yourself to our viewers?
Well, thanks for having me on the show. I'm looking forward to today's discussion. President and CEO of NetworksSports Consulting. We're a boutique strategic marketing and branding firm that focuses on the sports and entertainment industry. We're out here in the Bay Area, so we have some clients that are in the tech space as well as nonprofit space. But my background is in sports. I played college basketball at Stanford for Tara Vanderveer, and then was a coach in college for a few years before working in the WNBA for 14 years, which is where we met, before even to start my own business.
One of my mentors definitely within the business. So thank you, Angela, for coming on. And Lisa, marketing manager with the St. Louis Rams.
Yeah, so I've been with the Rams for about 7 years now, and my main role is really overseeing the advertising side of everything we do. So it's been exciting to be a part of it, and thanks for having me.
No problem. And like I said in the pre-show, I bet you guys are getting really ready now for the season now that the draft is over.
We are. We got our schedule about 2 weeks ago and had the draft last week, so it's an exciting time for us.
Funny how that schedule release is, such a big deal for marketing departments, but it truly is in all sports.
It is.
And so let's get started with some of these topics here. And first topic is when promos go wrong. And I don't know if you've seen this story. Deadspin covered it. The Arizona Sundogs, which is a minor league hockey team, they perched themselves atop a scissor lift and would not come down until they sold 300 season tickets for, their team. And it's as part of the Whatever It Takes campaign. Clearly, they were doing whatever it takes. And they had not sold the 300 season tickets 94 hours later. So they slept up there. They ate up there. It was pretty hardcore. And for it to last that long probably means that the promotion went wrong. Kind of on that same sentiment, the Lakers gave fans white towels before Game 4 versus the Spurs, which they lost. Kind of giving, off that serve as a white flag to surrender or to throw in the towel, all of those euphemisms there. So, how do teams deal with these potential misfires and prevent them from happening in the first place? Lisa, I'll go with you first.
Well, I think for us, to start with, we always try and stay away from making any promises on the football side. I think that obviously, we work together really closely with the football side, but once you start getting into making promises, it makes your job really tough if something happens that doesn't come true. I've seen some teams who have made the promise of, hey, X happens if we make it to the playoffs, and I think that's just kind of a dangerous point to put yourself in because you never know what's going to happen. When we're going through promotions and kind of ideas for strategies, we always try and talk to a lot of different people, both within the organization and outside, and get their thoughts, because it's amazing what people think of when you throw something out there and the first thing that comes to their head may be something completely different than what comes to yours. So we've learned the hard way, but we've also seen successful promotions based on feedback that we've gotten from people.
Yeah, and I know we talked a little bit about this at NSF when I met you, Lisa, but your, Coach Fisher mustache was one of the successful promotions, right?
Right. Yeah, that one we loved because it wasn't really tied to anything within the game, but
Right.
and it wasn't even tied to a player. So it was great having coaches approval on that because it was something fun that was last year, but is still kind of trickling into this year.
Definitely. And Angela, your thoughts, obviously being the GM of several WNBA teams, you had some experience with this.
Absolutely. Being out in the Bay, I kind of chuckled when I heard about the Sundogs, their efforts, because there's a lot of folks that are up in trees over in Berkeley protesting things a little bit longer than expected. But, I think that the first thing that you have to do, and it's somewhat what Lisa talked about, is you have to know your brand, know your market, and set realistic expectations. If you look at the Sundogs in particular, I think they had their season ticket base last year for the 2012-2013 season was about 2,600.
Right.
And so, to try to get 300 season tickets sold in a short amount of time was probably asking a lot. So you have to set realistic expectations, and if you understand your brand, understand your market, then that certainly helps. You have to create a sense of urgency. That's one thing that was difficult for us when I was with the WNBA was our season was during the summer, and so the top selling season were the other 8 months during the wintertime. How do you create this urgency? There was no rush for people to go out and get tickets, so you had to create urgency. But at the other end of that is demand has to be greater than the supply. And if the demand isn't greater than the supply, there is no sense of urgency. People can go out and get things. And I think that if you're in a market like St. Louis with the Rams, they had a great draft with Avon Austin and Stedman Graham, maybe you can tie some promotions into what's going on in your market and create a little bit more urgency, a sense of lack of scarcity.
No, definitely. Absolutely. I think the market, if, like you said, if it was in maybe a northern market where hockey is a big deal, I could see this working. But Arizona, that's a tough sell. And, what are your thoughts on the notion any PR is good PR? Obviously, this got picked up by Deadspin and some other, major outlets. Angela, I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, well, the truth of the matter is if they sold those 300 tickets in the first 4 or 5 hours of the promotion, none of us would have cared. We wouldn't be talking about it on the show today.
Exactly.
So to a certain extent, you have to build that into the promotion, understanding that in order to capture some eyeballs and some interest, maybe that you do have to set expectations a little bit higher than realistic. For me, I struggle with the any PR is good PR because you really need to know your brand. Negative PR can have some short-term benefits, and we all know about that. But over the long haul, it can negatively affect your brand. And we've seen these types of stunts, St. Paul Saints in Minneapolis or St. Paul. If your brand is more nimble, like a WNBA, a smaller league,
right,
or minor league sports, maybe you can do these sorts of things. But if you're an NFL or NBA, I think it'd be more difficult, and you risk your brand recognition.
Definitely. Lisa, what about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely agree with that. I think that there's a lot that can be done in minor league teams that's really fun. We look at a lot of minor league teams and different promotions they do just for, ideas. But I think that there's a really fine line that you find where you do get people talking about and you get people, you kind of get your brand on their radar. But I think you have to be careful just to make sure, especially with the NBA or the NFL, just be careful kind of where your brand is, because that should always be number one and kind of what's top of mind when people think of your brand.
Right. And
you have to have a sense of humor.
Absolutely.
Right?
Exactly.
You can't take things too seriously. So if you have a sense of humor, if you fail, as Lisa talked about at the beginning, if you fail, if you learn from your failures, we're not going to get everything right. But if you grow and you listen to your market, then I think that you'll recover.
Yeah, and I think to that point, it's how you deal with it afterwards. And exactly the truth. You have a sense of humor about it and kind of joke about it. That's one thing, as opposed to trying to back off and make it seem like it was a big blunder, I guess.
And kind of, echoing that going into, our next topic, which is brand evangelism. kind of turning your most passionate fans into your just ardent supporters. And the Tampa Bay Lightning have done a great job with that, as they have created a social media captain. They appoint a fan, a social media captain each game, and they'll have access to their social media accounts, and they can have a behind the scenes tour, and it's just kind of providing that fan perspective over social media. So what do you think are some ways teams can really make that fan or any fan feel special, or like they matter to the team? And Lisa, I'll start with you and what the Rams do for fan engagement.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. We've done similar stuff to that with our biggest, Twitter followers and everything like that. But I think that one thing that happens when you're working kind of in the sports realm is you kind of forget about the fan experience and what it's like to just be a fan. Because I know when I go to other professional sports games, I catch myself watching promos with kind of an eye as if I was at my own game. And so I think that kind of giving a fan that power really kind of opens your eyes to a lot of different things that you maybe wouldn't think of kind of being in the business. So for us, we've really made it a big focus of ours the past couple years to really engage our fans as much as possible. So, our head coach, Coach Fisher, has been awesome about really making himself accessible. But we also try and kind of provide that accessibility through our social media and through our events to really get them up close and personal with different people. Last week, we just did an event for our season ticket holders the day before the draft with our general manager and the scouting department. And they really talked through kind of their draft strategy. They gave them kind of a peek behind the curtain in the war room. And what's funny, actually told all our fans what we were going to do with the trade by picking Tavon Austin.
Really interesting.
Nobody thought that was actually going to happen. They thought they were just joking, like, you're crazy. So things like that really give them kind of the access. Obviously, we're not always going to tell them something like that, but make them feel like they're really a part of it, and they kind of have something special as being the season ticket holder that other people can't get.
A leak that did not go wrong for you guys, Angela.
That's a surprise.
Yeah, that is a little surprising.
And then the after strategy, like I talked about, we could have just said, we were just playing a little mock draft game.
That's true. Very true. Angela, what are your thoughts?
Well, I agree with Lisa. I think that what's exciting for me as a consultant with my clients is that the landscape has changed. What we used to see in the minor leagues with those teams that could take a risk and be really creative and have fun, a lot of the major league teams are able to do this now and take that risk and just have fun with it because they aren't taking themselves too seriously. Social media really has, brought a lot of opportunities where you can engage with your fans. And you think about the strongest brands. You think about Apple. When you walk into an Apple store and the connection that they have with consumers, there's no doubt that it's paid tremendous dividends to that company. And I think that now you're starting to see some Major League Sports incorporate the same things. And so, as Lisa mentioned, there's so many different things. It's experiential opportunities. Everyone gets a T-shirt, or you can even purchase different things. It's not necessarily materialistic items. It's experiential items that you may not have an opportunity to receive otherwise. It's exclusive access, to Lisa's point, about information that no one else has. It's so powerful, whether it's to your own employees or to your consumers, to let them know about something that's about to happen before it goes out to the general public. There's things like, just recognition programs, whether it's putting someone on the video board or on your website for their birthday, or being a 15-year season ticket holder or something like that. And it's really, at the end of the day, it's authentic connections with not only the customer service rep, but, if Jeff Fisher has a relationship with a fan, that's going to go a long way. It's not just the person that services that account. It's people in the organization that matter.
Definitely. And kind of, sticking along with fan engagement, Budweiser UK has actually become, they're an official sponsor of the FA Cup, which was the semifinals just a couple of weekends ago. And they've now have social photo reporters, as they like to call them, where, it's all, they call it citizen journalism, with two amateur photographers who could basically, act as the team's official photographer for the event. So kind of more crowdsourcing in terms of, fan-generated content. What are your thoughts on, this kind of activity? Lisa, I'll go with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think, This one's interesting to me because we played in London last year, and we actually did a similar thing while we were over there. We had we actually brought on some Rams ambassadors for the few months leading up to the game, where we provided them with details about the game, and we shipped over some giveaway items, et cetera. And they really served as our ambassadors in London to get people excited about the game and really kind of to spread the Rams brand. So I think, in that particular case, we really saw a lot of benefits from that, because they were, people living in London that were able to kind of give us some feedback on what fans want and what people do and don't understand about American football. I think in terms of just a crowdsourcing on behalf of your brand, I think that's another great way to get people engaged with your brand and get influencers to really talk about kind of what they're doing. I think that, obviously as long as you have some degree of control over what they are and aren't sharing, I think that it's a great way to get people involved. And, it's a way to get some of your biggest fans kind of at the front of the line to really represent you.
Right. Angela.
I completely agree. It takes a village. And, if you look at crowdsourcing, it's a cost-effective way to get the word out. So if you look at guerrilla marketing or word of mouth marketing, I think oftentimes it's a more viable and effective way to spread your message and connect with your true consumer. Sometimes that we put these marketing campaigns together and we're not reaching the right segments, the segments that really truly are craving our information or our services or our content. And so crowdsourcing, I think it's a great idea in order to help promote and to live your brand vision. And I think it's important that you, to Lisa's point, that you do select the right people, because they are the mouthpieces for your brand. Right. And they do need to make sure that they're conveying those messages that you're comfortable with, but you can't dictate or control what they're saying. And I think for the Budweiser piece, I thought it was interesting. There's an article in Mashable recently talking about, sports stars and Instagram. Yeah. And saying that Instagram is a much more powerful social platform right now for sports because of the reach, where people are more engaged with photos and the distribution. I think a Kobe photo was reposted, about 25% of the time, right. The number of followers he had versus Twitter, where the engagement wasn't as strong. So I think that what they did with Budweiser was a nice connection and combination using social media and photo images.
Yeah, Kobe, actually, he Instagrammed his stitches today from his surgery, and I'm sure that just killed it, which is pretty funny. But moving on to our last topic here, USA Water Polo has just signed a deal with Jamba Juice, the smoothie giant, and to really promote, a healthy, active lifestyle, and actually the company's new caffeinated energy drink. And obviously USA Water Polo will, do a bunch of promotions for Jamba Juice. But it really, hit home in terms of endemic sponsorship and endemic marketing. Obviously, both are lifestyle brands. So how important is it to secure that endemic brand, whether it be for a team or an athlete, or, does it really bring your client more credibility in that space? Angela, I'll go with you from the consulting side first.
Absolutely. The goal now is to connect to the consumer and the customer. Mm-hmm. And they're two different, constituents in essence. So you need to understand the behavior, the buying behavior patterns, connection with both in order to really have a strong connection. So you must know how and why your customer and how they make decisions. So I think it is important for us to understand. And I think that, it became the savvy term to use a couple of years ago, endemic or non-endemic, marketing and branding. But I think that it's really important for us to, as we talked about for years, is to get further understanding of our consumer profile and the way they think and what connects with them.
Lisa, how about you with the Rams in St. Louis?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, it's obviously so important to know your consumer, and I think it's also important to know your brand and kind of what your brand traits are and what you stand for as an organization. That's something we've put a lot of focus on here, is just really kind of making sure that all of our staff are serving as brand ambassadors and really looking out for kind of what's best for us. I think when you're bringing on partners, when you bring on a partner like a Jamba Juice that's really focused on healthy living and fitness, I think that just helps further reinforce your brand, because you are kind of coinciding together. I think when you bring on a partner or sponsor that doesn't necessarily fit with your goals or your objectives, it kind of makes your fans and your consumers look at it and kind of say, well, I don't understand why you guys would align yourselves with XYZ brand when you're sitting here telling us that you're trying to be family friendly and family oriented and, focus on play 60 and healthy living. So I think that it's really important to understand kind of your organization and what your goals are, and make sure that everybody within that kind of knows how to align with those goals.
Yeah, definitely a fine line with, some of your community initiatives, and then, having partners that maybe don't align with those values. So definitely very important. And thank you so much, ladies, for joining me on a female power hour of Sports Marketing Now.
A takeover.
Exactly. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us.
No problem. And thank you for listening and watching today. And you can catch us on Thursday for SBN Live, or you can find us all week on the website on sportsbusinessnow.com or on Twitter at SBNow. We'll see you next time.
SBN, Sports Business Now.